Now to the very latest on the murder of a transgender woman who is a social media influencer.
We're now hearing the 911 calls after she was shot and killed inside a car.
November 14th, 2025, 7 p.m., Lauderdale Lakes, Florida. A Tesla security camera is recording everything in crystal clarity. What it captures in the next 90 seconds will destroy a family, expose a killer, and prove that 300,000 people watched a murder happen in real time without lifting a finger to stop it. The footage shows a beige Chevy Malibu parked on Northwest 37th Street. The driver's door opens. A man steps out, and in his hand, clearly visible even in the fading light, is a gun. The passenger door swings open. A figure tries to escape. He grabs her by the hair and forces her back inside the vehicle. Multiple gunshots shatter the quiet evening air. He walks around to the passenger's side with the casual pace of someone checking their mail. Opens the door. Her body, limp and bleeding, begins to fall onto the pavement. He catches her, pushes her corpse back into the seat like she's a piece of luggage that shifted during the drive. Then he pulls out his phone and calls 911, his voice suddenly frantic, suddenly desperate, suddenly the perfect imitation of a man who didn't just execute someone he claimed to love. But here's what that camera didn't show you. It didn't show the 3 months of warnings posted online. It didn't show the first time he shot her and she survived. It didn't show the text messages where he wrote, "I should have shot her instead." It didn't capture the 263,000 people who watched her document her own murder, video by video, bruise by bruise, and did absolutely nothing to intervene. Her name was Maurice Harrison. Online, 300,000 followers knew her as Girl Lala, a 21-year-old hairstylist and transgender influencer whose talent with wigs was matched only by her infectious personality. Those same followers watched her relationship disintegrate in real time. They saw the cuts on her face. They read the captions begging for help. They left comments like, "This is so messy," and "Here they go again," and kept scrolling to the next video. You might have been one of them. I might have been too. We all participated in the same grotesque ritual, treating someone's documented abuse as content to consume between breakfast and our morning commute. We watched her show us the bite marks on her arms. We saw him interrupt her live streams with barely concealed rage. We heard her say, point blank, "This boy is going to kill me." And we did nothing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you are part of this story. Not because you knew Maurice personally, not because you followed her account, but because the same instinct that let 300,000 people watch her die, the same cultural reflex that treats violence as entertainment until it ends in a body bag, that same instinct lives in all of us. And until we confront it, more people will die while we watch. Before we go further, I need to know something about you. If you're the type of person who sees warning signs and actually does something about it, hit that subscribe button right now. If you're not, well, stay anyway, because what you're about to learn might save someone you love. Maybe it'll save you. And if you don't subscribe, I want you to drop a comment telling me exactly why you think staying silent is acceptable. Tell me why you can watch someone document their own murder and not feel obligated to take even the smallest action. Tell me what makes you different from the 300,000 people who watched Maurice Harrison beg for help and offered nothing but likes and shares. I'll wait, because understanding why good people do nothing is the only way we stop this from happening again. Maurice is dead. Her killer is in custody. But the system that failed her, the audience that enabled it, and the culture that made entertainment out of her suffering, all of that is still here, still functioning, still claiming the next victim. So let's talk about how we got here, and more importantly, how we make sure it never happens again. You think you know who Maurice Harrison was because you saw her videos. You saw the wigs, the makeup tutorials, the confident smile that lit up a screen. You saw Girl Lala, the influencer with 263,000 TikTok followers, 37,000 on one Instagram account, 41,000 on another. You saw the brand deals, the salon appointments, the girl boss energy that made it look easy. But here's what you didn't see. 3 months before she died, Maurice buried her brother. His name was Marion Harrison, and in August of 2024, he was shot and killed. Gun violence had already torn through her family once. She knew exactly what a bullet could take from the people left behind. She'd stood at a grave and watched her mother collapse with grief. She understood, in a way most 21-year-olds never have to, that violence doesn't just end a life. It detonates every life connected to it. And she kept going. She kept building. She kept posting. Because that's what survivors do. They don't have the luxury of falling apart. They get up, they go to work, they smile for the camera, and they carry grief like a second skeleton inside their body, invisible to everyone watching. Maurice wasn't just creating content for validation or clout. This was her livelihood. She worked 12-hour days doing hair installations, editing videos, managing client bookings, responding to brand partnership emails. She was running a legitimate business that generated more income than most people her age could imagine. She had financial independence, professional respect in her industry, and a platform that amplified voices like hers in a world that often tried to silence them. That independence threatened everything about traditional masculinity. She didn't need a man to pay her bills. She didn't need permission to work or create or build something that belonged entirely to her. She was the breadwinner, the boss, the one with the audience and the influence. For an insecure man, for a man who measured his worth by how much control he had over his partner, Maurice's success wasn't something to celebrate. It was something to destroy. But let's talk about the part of her story that complicates the narrative everyone wants to tell. In early 2025, Maurice was arrested on fraud charges. She didn't deny it. She didn't make excuses. She went on TikTok and told her followers straight up, "I did fraud. That's why I'm going to jail." No victim is perfect. No survivor has a record clean enough to satisfy people who need a reason not to care. Here's what matters about that arrest. Fraud charges, especially the kind that land you in county jail for 90 days. They don't happen in a vacuum. They happen when someone is desperate, when bills are piling up and opportunities are scarce, and the gap between survival and catastrophe is one missed payment. They happen when the system has already failed you so many times that breaking its rules feels like the only rational choice left. And here's the part that should haunt everyone who followed this story. That jail cell, those 90 days locked away from the world, that was the safest Maurice had been in months. Behind bars, he couldn't show up at her friend's house. He couldn't bang on doors at 2 in the morning. He couldn't grab her by the hair or bite her arms or put his hands around her throat. Prison was her protection, and she didn't even know it. But he knew. He visited her. There's footage of it, him sitting across from her in the visitation room, talking through the glass, playing the role of devoted boyfriend who stands by his woman even when she's locked up. Her followers saw it and softened. "He really loves her," they commented. "He's there when it matters." They mistook his presence for loyalty when it was actually the opposite. He was cementing his control, making sure she knew he was waiting, making sure she understood there was no escape even behind concrete walls and barbed wire. When Maurice was released in the fall of 2025, she walked out of that jail and straight back into his arms. Because that's what trauma does. It convinces you that the person hurting you is the only person who understands you. It makes you believe that love and pain are inseparable, that if it doesn't hurt, it isn't real. She walked out of the one place where she was safe and chose the one person who would kill her. And all of us, everyone who watched her content, everyone who followed her journey, we watched her make that choice, and we did nothing to stop it. His name is Shenoid White Jr., 25 years old. To anyone scrolling through his social media, he looked like every other young father trying to do right by his kid. Posted videos with his daughter, talked about being present in her life, shared those carefully curated moments that make people nod and think. Good man. Responsible father. But let me take you back to November of 2022. Broward County, Florida. Shenoid White Jr. was arrested for domestic violence. Not with Maurice. With a different woman. A different relationship. A different victim who found herself on the receiving end of his fists and his rage. The arrest report states he physically and maliciously battered the victim multiple times. Multiple times. Not once in a moment of lost control. Not a singular mistake made in the heat of an argument. Multiple times. Deliberate. Sustained. The kind of violence that leaves marks, that sends a message, That establishes a pattern. That victim didn't press charges. The case disappeared into the bureaucratic void, where thousands of domestic violence incidents go to die every single year. No conviction, no consequences, no record that would follow him into his next relationship. He walked away clean, and the system let him. And 2 years later, Maurice Harrison paid for that failure with her life. This is what people don't understand about abusers. They don't start with murder. They start with a test. They push a boundary and wait to see if anyone pushes back. When nobody does, when the victim stays quiet or the charges get dropped or the family looks the other way, that's when they learn the most important lesson of their criminal education. They can get away with it. Shenoid had already done this. Maurice wasn't his first victim. She was his final one. And every day that passed between November 2022 and November 14th, 2025 was another day the system had to stop him and chose not to. Now let's talk about the weapon he used that had nothing to do with the gun. In the months before Morris's death, Shenoid went live on social media and made a public confession about his sexuality. He told thousands of viewers that he was trans-attracted, that he was attracted to transgender women, that this was his truth and people needed to accept it. The comments flooded in. Some supportive, some hateful, some confused. His followers watched him wrestle with his identity in real time, and many of them saw vulnerability. They saw a man being honest about something society tells him to hide. They saw courage. But that confession wasn't liberation. It was a loaded weapon pointed directly at Morris's head. Because in the leaked messages that came out after her death, in the voice notes and text threads that exposed who he really was behind the performance, Shenoid revealed the truth. He wrote, "The only reason I haven't left is because I feel like you'll expose me." Read that again. He wasn't afraid of Maurice because she was violent. He wasn't afraid because she threatened him. He was afraid she would tell people who he really was. He was afraid of exposure, of truth, of losing control over his own narrative. That's what his public coming out was really about. It wasn't vulnerability. It was preemptive damage control. He told his story first so Maurice couldn't tell it for him. He framed his sexuality on his terms so she couldn't use it against him. And when he went live and cried about how hard it was to be trans-attracted, when he positioned himself as the victim of society's judgment, he was really just building sympathy that would insulate him from accountability later. Every abuser has a narrative. Every single one. They're the misunderstood one. The one who's trying so hard despite their difficult circumstances. The one who's been hurt before, so you should forgive them when they hurt you. Shenoid's narrative was victimhood wrapped in the language of identity struggle. And it worked because people are desperate to believe that someone being honest about one thing means they're honest about everything. But the messages tell a different story. In a voice note sent to a friend, Shenoid's voice is cold, flat, empty of anything resembling love. "I don't miss this bitch. I don't like this bitch. I hate everything about this bitch. That's the God-honest truth. I just deal with her because there's no escape for me. There's nowhere for me to go. What woman is going to want me?" There it is. The real motivation. Not love. Not passion. Not even anger. Just cold calculation. He stayed with Maurice, not because he cared about her, but because he believed no one else would accept him. She was his shield against loneliness, his proof that he could be desired, his validation that he wasn't the thing he feared most, unwanted. And when she tried to leave, when she threatened to take away the only thing that made him feel like a man worth wanting, he didn't let her go. He ended her. In another message sent to the same friend, Shenoid wrote, "I should have shot her instead." This was months before he actually did it. Months before November 14th. He was already fantasizing about it, already planning it in the part of his brain where rage lives and waits for permission. His friend tried to reason with him. "Stop talking like that." But he didn't stop. He kept going, kept detailing his resentment, kept building the case in his own mind for why Maurice deserved what was coming. Here's the performance that should disgust everyone. Shenoid presented himself as a loving father, posted videos with his young daughter from a previous relationship, talked about being there for his kid, about breaking generational cycles, about being the man his daughter could look up to. Good dads don't murder their partners, but murderers absolutely love looking like good dads. Because fatherhood is social currency. It's credibility. It's the thing that makes people say, he can't be that bad. He loves his daughter. It's the shield that abusers hide behind when people start asking too many questions about the bruises on their girlfriend's face. Shinoid knew exactly what he was doing. Every post with his daughter, every caption about being a present father, every carefully staged photo of him playing the role of devoted parent, it was all designed to create reasonable doubt in the court of public opinion. Look at him. He's a father. How bad could he really be? The duality is what makes it so disturbing. Sweet father content on one platform. I hate everything about this bitch, voice notes on another. Smiling selfies with his kid in the morning. Threatening to shoot his girlfriend by nightfall. This is the reality of abuse. It doesn't wear a monster mask. It wears a human face. It performs goodness in public and saves its violence for the people who can't escape. And society gives fathers the benefit of the doubt every single time. We see a man with his child and assume he's safe. We see him show up to a birthday party or a school event and think he's stable. We watch him cry about his struggles and believe he's the victim. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, he's planning a murder, justifying it, waiting for the right moment to pull the trigger. Shinoid White Jr. had shown everyone exactly who he was. The 2022 arrest, the messages, the voice notes, the threats, the pattern was there. The evidence was there. The warnings were flashing red in every direction. And still, no one stopped him. Every nightmare starts with a dream. Every murder starts with flowers. Valentine's Day, 2024. Shinoid surprised Maurice with gifts. Roses, chocolates, a giant stuffed animal. The kind of over-the-top romantic gesture that makes people stop scrolling and double-tap. She posted it all. Her followers flooded the comments with heart emojis. Relationship goals, they wrote. He's a keeper. This is what love looks like. They had no idea they were watching the opening act of a tragedy. Because this is how it always begins. Not with violence. With generosity. With attention so intense it feels like devotion. Abusers don't announce themselves. They seduce you first. They make you feel like the most important person in the world. Like you've finally found someone who sees you. Who gets you. Who would do anything for you. And then, once you're hooked, once you've reorganized your entire life around them, once you've posted enough couple videos that breaking up would feel like public failure, that's when the mask starts to slip. Not all at once. Just a crack here. A moment of anger there. Small enough that you tell yourself it's stress. It's a bad day. It's not who they really are. Maurice and Shinoid look perfect online. Matching outfits. Late-night drives. Videos of them laughing in the car. Lip-syncing to trending sounds. Doing all the performative couple content that turns relationships into brand partnerships. They had the aesthetic, the chemistry, the engagement metrics that told them people were watching and people approved. But scroll a little deeper. Watch a little closer. The signs were always there. In one video, Maurice is mid-sentence, talking to her camera, when you hear his voice off-screen. Bring your ass out of the bathroom. Her face changes instantly. The smile drops. Her eyes go flat. She laughs it off, keeps recording, but you can see it. The fear. The calculation. The split-second decision to keep performing happiness so he doesn't get worse. Her followers saw it too. Some of them. A few comments mentioned it. Girl, are you okay? That didn't sound right. But most people kept it moving. Kept watching the next video. Kept treating her discomfort as content. Because that's what we do. We see something wrong, and we don't intervene. We just make a mental note of it and keep scrolling. Here's what Morris's friends would later reveal. Shinoid didn't like the attention she received. He didn't like that she had a bigger following than him. He didn't like that strangers commented on her posts, calling her beautiful. He didn't like that she had a life, a business, an identity that existed independent of him. So he started isolating her. Not dramatically. Not in ways that would be obvious to an outside observer. Just small redirections. Why do you need to go to that event? Stay home with me. Why are you always on your phone? You care more about TikTok than about us. Your friends don't really care about you. I'm the only one who's actually here. Classic abuser tactics. Make the victim believe that love means choosing them over everyone and everything else. Make them feel guilty for having a support system. Make them think that if they just gave a little more, tried a little harder, focused a little less on the outside world, then everything would be fine. Maurice had 300,000 followers, and she was completely alone, because followers aren't friends. Engagement isn't support. 1,000,000 likes don't mean a single person will show up when you need them. She was surrounded by an audience and suffocating from isolation at the same time. Then came the escalation, because it always escalates. Isolation doesn't satisfy an abuser. Control doesn't satisfy them. They need more. They need you smaller. They need you broken. They need visible proof that they own you. In one video that went viral after her death, Maurice stands in front of the camera, showing off her face. There's a fresh cut across her cheek. Her eye is swollen. She's trying to cover it with makeup, but the damage is too severe. She tells her followers what happened. He did this. We got into a fight, and he did this to me. The comments exploded. Leave him. File a police report. This is abuse. But within 24 hours, she posted another video. Them together. Smiling. Kissing. Back to couple content. Back to performing love. And her followers, instead of staying alarmed, instead of continuing to push her toward safety, they adjusted. They accepted it. Oh, they made up. Relationships are hard. At least he apologized. Except he didn't apologize. Not really. Abusers don't apologize. They make promises. They cry. They blame stress or alcohol or your behavior. They say, I'm sorry. But what they mean is, I'm sorry you made me do that. And then they do it again. Maurice showed her followers bite marks on her arms. Actual teeth marks, deep enough to bruise, scattered across her skin like a map of violence. She said on camera, he bites me when he's mad. And people laughed. They thought it was quirky. They thought it was weird couple drama. They didn't recognize it as what it actually was. A man treating his partner like prey. Here's the thing about documenting abuse. It feels like protection. If you film it, if you post it, if you make it public, then maybe the shame will land on him instead of you. Maybe people will see what's happening and help. Maybe the evidence will matter if you ever need to prove it to the police or a judge or your own family who keeps asking why you don't just leave. But documentation didn't protect Maurice. It just gave her audience a front row seat to her destruction. Every bruise she showed, every fight she referenced, every tearful video where she said, I'm done this time. I swear I'm done. It all became content, consumable, forgettable, entertainment. And here's what nobody talks about. There was a first shooting. 3 to 4 months before November 14th. Shinoid shot Maurice, and the bullet grazed her. She survived. She didn't report it to the police. She didn't make a big public post about it. She told a few close friends. She kept it quiet because she knew what reporting would mean. Questions, investigations, his arrest, his anger, the possibility that pressing charges would make him finish what he started. Survivors do this math every single day. Is reporting safer than staying quiet? Will involving the police protect me or provoke him? If I leave, if I fight back, if I tell the truth, will that save my life or end it? Maurice ran the numbers and decided silence was survival. She was wrong. But she wasn't stupid. She was calculating risk in a system that fails victims more often than it saves them. After she got out of jail in the fall of 2025, her friends say she wanted out of the relationship. She was planning to leave. She was talking about starting fresh, getting her own place, focusing on her business, rebuilding her life without him. Shinoid knew, and he couldn't allow it, because abusers don't lose. They don't accept rejection. They don't let you walk away with your dignity intact. If they can't have you, if they can't control you, then they'd rather see you dead. He sent her a text message that reads like a confession written in advance. Miami, I do not like you. This is supposed to be my week, my time. All energy and focus is supposed to be on me. I'd rather not get the gift because I'm not staying with you. I'm tired of you. The only reason I haven't left is because I feel like you'll expose me. I want to be free, and I don't love you anymore. I hate saying I love you. I hate when you make me kiss you. Set me free, Miami. I am afraid of you. Every single line is a projection. He's tired of her, but he won't leave. He doesn't love her, but he won't let her go. He's afraid of her, but he's the one with the history of violence. He wants to be free, but his idea of freedom is her silence, her submission, her non-existence. And then he wrote the part that matters most. I am afraid of you. Abusers always claim fear when they're losing power. They reframe control as self-defense. They say they had no choice. They were backed into a corner. They were protecting themselves from you. Shenoid wasn't afraid of Maurice. He was afraid of the truth. He was afraid she'd tell people who he really was. He was afraid of losing the narrative. He was afraid that without her, he'd have to face the world as exactly what he was, a violent man with nothing to offer except threats and rage. So he wrote his own confession, sent it to her, and nobody read it carefully enough. Nobody saw it for what it was. A murder threat disguised as a breakup text. A plan announced in plain language. A countdown that ended on November 14th at 7 p.m. in a parked car in Lauderdale Lakes. She was showing us a murder in progress. Frame by frame. Post by post. Bruise by bruise. And we watched it like it was a television show we could turn off whenever it got too heavy. November 13th, 2025. 24 hours before Maurice Harrison would be murdered. Shenoid White Jr. was already preparing. Not emotionally. Not in some heat of passion breakdown where a man loses control and does something he'll regret. He was preparing logistically. Methodically. The way you prepare for something you've already decided is going to happen. He went to a friend's house. Not Morris's friend. His friend. Someone who knew him, trusted him, had no reason to believe he was about to commit murder. And at that house, Shenoid picked up a gun. We don't know if he asked for it or if it was offered. We don't know if he explained why he needed it. But we know he left that house armed and Maurice Harrison had less than 24 hours to live. This destroys the defense that always comes later. The crime of passion argument. The he just snapped excuse. The narrative that domestic violence murders are spontaneous explosions of emotion rather than calculated decisions. You don't pick up a gun the day before unless you already know what you're going to do with it. November 14th. Morning. Maurice posted on social media. Regular content. Business as usual. She had client appointments scheduled. She had videos to edit. She had a life that extended beyond him. And that life was continuing whether he liked it or not. For someone like Shenoid, someone whose entire sense of power came from controlling her, that must have been unbearable. By afternoon, they were together. We don't know exactly how. Did he ask to see her? Did he demand it? Did he show up uninvited? The details blur, but the outcome is clear. They ended up in a car together. A beige Chevy Malibu. Driving through Lauderdale Lakes. And at some point during that drive, Maurice knew. You don't survive this long with an abuser without developing instincts. She knew something was different. She knew this wasn't a normal argument. 7 p.m. Northwest 37th Street. The Tesla parked nearby was recording everything. Its owner had no idea their security camera was about to capture a murder. Shenoid pulled over, put the car in park, and what happened next wasn't a fight. It wasn't an argument that got out of hand. It was an execution. He stepped out of the driver's side with the gun already in his hand. Maurice saw it. She knew exactly what was coming. She tried to escape through the passenger door, but he was faster. He grabbed her by the hair, forced her back inside, and fired multiple shots at point-blank range. The gunshots echo through the neighborhood. Silence follows. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that comes after violence rips through the air and leaves everything frozen in its wake. Shenoid White Jr. stands outside the car. Maurice Harrison is bleeding out in the passenger seat. He has maybe 60 seconds before someone calls the police. Maybe less. He needs to control the narrative before anyone else can tell it. So he pulls out his phone and dials 911. His voice, when the dispatcher answers, is frantic, panicked. Exactly what you'd expect from someone who just witnessed a terrible accident. She shot herself, he tells them. My girlfriend shot herself. I need help. Please send someone. Listen to that call, and you hear a man in crisis. A man desperate to save the woman he loves. A man whose world is falling apart in real time. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is a performance. A calculated act designed to establish his innocence before the investigation even begins. He's not calling for help. He's calling to build his alibi. The dispatcher asks questions. Where are you? What happened? Is she breathing? And Shinoid delivers his lines perfectly. He's confused. He's scared. He doesn't understand what just happened. He keeps repeating the same story. She grabbed the gun. She shot herself. He tried to stop her, but it happened so fast. He's the victim here. He's the traumatized witness to her suicide. Except the Tesla camera already proved he's lying. The footage shows him exit the driver's seat with the gun. Shows him fire the shots. Shows him walk around the car with the casual deliberation of someone completing a task. There's no confusion in his body language. No panic. No desperate attempt to save her life. Just cold execution, followed by performance art. Police arrive within minutes. They find Maurice slumped in the passenger seat. Multiple gunshot wounds to her upper body. She's still alive. Barely. The paramedics rush her to Broward Health Medical Center. She's unconscious. Critical condition. Fighting for every breath, while Shinoid stands outside the car repeating his story to anyone who'll listen. Here's what the officers notice immediately. His story doesn't match the scene. If she shot herself, where's the gun in her hand? Why are the bullet trajectories inconsistent with suicide? Why is there no gunshot residue on her hands? Why does the Tesla footage show him holding the weapon? Shinoid keeps talking. He's eager to explain. Too eager. Guilty people always talk too much. They over-explain. They add unnecessary details to make the lies sound more believable. Innocent people say, I don't know what happened, and then shut up. Guilty people can't stop constructing the narrative because they know the truth will destroy them. By 8 p.m., less than an hour after the shooting, Shinoid is in custody. Not because he confessed. Not because he tried to run. But because the physical evidence, the witness testimony from neighbors who heard the shots, and the Tesla footage made it impossible for police to believe his version of events. He's arrested on charges of attempted first-degree murder. Attempted. Because Maurice is still alive. She fights for 3 days. 3 days in intensive care, with machines breathing for her, with doctors doing everything they can to repair the damage his bullets caused. 3 days where her family sits in waiting rooms, praying for a miracle. 3 days where her followers refresh her social media, hoping for an update that says she's going to make it. November 17th, 7:43 p.m. Maurice Harrison is pronounced dead. The charges against Shinoid White Jr. are upgraded to first-degree murder. The performance is over. The camera caught everything. And now, finally, he'll face consequences for what he's done. The Tesla was parked 40 feet away. Just a car in a neighborhood, minding its own business, recording everything its sensors detected. The owner had no idea their vehicle was documenting a murder. Tesla's Sentry mode activates automatically when it detects motion or impact near the car. It's designed to catch vandals, prevent break-ins, capture hit-and-runs. On November 14th, it captured something far worse. The footage is grainy but clear enough. You see the beige Chevy Malibu pull over. You see Shinoid exit the driver's side. You see the gun already in his hand. You see him walk around to the passenger's side, where Maurice is trying to escape. You see him grab her. You see the muzzle flashes. For distinct shots fired in rapid succession. You see him step back, look around, then pull out his phone. This isn't ambiguous. This isn't open to interpretation. This is a man executing his girlfriend in broad daylight, and then immediately calling 911 to lie about it. The footage destroys every element of his defense before his lawyer can even construct one. But here's what makes it even more damning. The ballistics report shows the bullets entered Morris's body from angles inconsistent with self-infliction. The gunshot residue analysis shows particles on Shinoid's hands, not hers. The autopsy reveals she was shot while trying to shield herself. Defensive wounds on her arms, where she raised them to protect her face and chest. Every piece of physical evidence points to the same conclusion. This was murder. Premeditated. Deliberate. Unavoidable. Shinoid picked up that gun the day before knowing exactly what he was going to do with it. He lured Maurice into that car, knowing she wasn't coming out alive. And when it was over, he tried to rewrite the story before her body was even cold. The camera didn't let him.